What up, what up? Week 8 preview of the Onions, Week 7 recap of the Onions. It's your boy, long lost, back from the dead, plus Janky Orchid. We're going to talk about some things. We're going to hug it out. Historic week overall. Your headlines are as follows. Game day, going to the Palouse for the first time ever. That's more of a national headline, but also impacts the game, as that's going to be the primetime game, and obviously on the card, Oregon at WSU. It's been 15 years in the making. Second headline, Parker Robertson, you brilliant, maniacal son of a bitch, going all in again, winning by 1 point on Texas A&M. 7,700 turns into something, I can't even do the math, stratospheric, like 14K. In the words of co-commissioner Zach Bloxham, we're all playing for second place. And if we're all playing for second place and you thought everybody went all in last week, let's see how that goes in the future. I won't belabor you with what Parker did. The line was -2. A&M led by 3. Low-scoring game. Took over in the fourth quarter. Many of you probably watched it. A&M extends the lead to 10. South Carolina stages a furious drive with less than 2 minutes to go. They do it in like 40 seconds. They go all the way down the field and score in a game in which they had scored like 3 points beforehand. They get the margin back to 3. Again, the line is 2 for Texas A&M. A&M's up 3. Cocky tries the onside kick, doesn't work. Game over. Parker soars on. Our second place man, just way back in the dust. The fearless Ben Carey, who wagered 1,000 and won just under that. Congrats to him. And co-commissioner Zach Bloxham doing what he always does, experiencing success with, again, an astute wager. He catapults himself into third with the misses not far behind. In the Onions' 5+ years in existence, we have not had a week, at least according to our records, ever, wherein 18 separate people have lost their lives. It was like the Black Plague of weeks in Onions land. Our third place contestant going into the week, Justin Pingle. Pingel? I don't know any of you, so I can't say your names. You had 39, basically 4,000 onions. You put it all on Texas. Now that's a ballsy move because we know that Texas is great as a dog. They were off a huge emotional win last week when they won outright as a dog against Oklahoma in Red River. And they went up against a Baylor team and they were just like kind of okay. And they won, but Baylor's really bad. And Texas won, but they didn't cover. I think the number was 14 or 13.5. Sorry about that. RIP Justin. Alex Pohl, 9th place. You had 2,052 onions. You put 2K of them on Northwestern, who had the chance to go back and forth in overtime and maybe win by a touchdown. The line was Northwestern -4. Many of you were on Northwestern. It was arguably our most one-sided game of the week. Many of you were on Northwestern, and of course, what do the Wildcats do? They kick a field goal. They win by 3, not 4, in overtime. You're on life support with 52 onions. I'm giving you an RIP here because why would you leave 52 onions in your account? 52 onions. You can double that every week for the rest of the season. You're not even going to come within sniffing distance of somebody in the stratosphere. Greg Welch, 10th place. 2,047 onions. Thankfully, to you, Greg, you did wager all of the onions that you had, and you put them all on Northwestern, and you lost. So RIP to a noteworthy Onions veteran there. Our 16th place contestant, Dan Richards, 1,803 onions. You split that between all of it between San Diego State and Hawaii. Both of those zonky West Coast teams lost, but you have 3 onions left. Actually, you have 3.26 onions. What are you people doing? Why would you leave 3 onions? And we have to grade that. That's like a rounding error. What are you gonna just wager it all? My God, man. I want to read off a few more names in the RIPs. Aaron Maxfield. See you later. Danny Gladwell. It's been real. Thomas Hone. Ben Hilly. These are some names that I've heard before. Couldn't pick you out of a lineup, but you're familiar and you sound like good people. Skylar Bradbury. You sound like a fiction character, like a hero in a 40s novel or something. Skylar Bradbury. P.I. Johnny Galbraith. That's made up. Jimmy Connors. James, shout out to you. Love you, man. Matt Hamburger. Shane Foster, Mark Winters, Quincy Steiner, Meek Mills, Connor Pelton, Blair Frey, and Maddie the King Prince of yesteryear, a longtime contestant. Shout out to all you fools, but you unfortunately are out the game, and it wouldn't have been the same without you, but we got to move on. We got to move on to the second half of the season, which begins in Week 8, and it will involve, I am told, under 50 of you. Oh, and before we go on to the previews, I forgot, David Wirtz, 20th place contestant. If you were listening for your name and you heard 17, but you didn't hear the 18th, and the 18th was yours, listen up, David. Shout out to David, who did something really hard. He also fell victim to Northwestern. He also fell victim to Texas. And he fell victim to UCF, who won but didn't cover. Nasty. He put all of his 1453 onions across those 3 games, and he lost them all. Kind of like a reverse parlay. Life can be hard sometimes. You thought you were mitigating your risk. You thought you were spreading it out, being wise, using the old pumpkin. Moving on to Week 8. That's not the... Week 8. What the... Take 2. Week 8. All right. What do we got? We got previews? We got previews! Michigan State. An in-state rivalry unlike any other. Jalen Watts-Jackson! And he scores! Wasn't that the game that made Dan Shulman, lose his voice and mind simultaneously in 2015? That was Dan Shulman, right? The little bald guy that does basketball mostly with Jay Billis. Shout out to Jay Billis, longtime friend and partner of Bill Raftery, our patron saint and Onion's namesake. Listen, I have almost zero handicapping or analytical ability at all. I'll just say that Michigan's been on a steam cleaning clinic over the last couple of weeks. They looked fantastic against Wisconsin. They looked fantastic the week before that. Their defense has really, really locked it in. And they've shown better maturity on the offensive side of the ball. Michigan State, they're like that team that when their back's against the wall, they seem to play better. When they're a favorite, they don't seem to play well. But then other times their back is against the wall and they just kind of take a shit on the ground. I do not know what to expect out of Michigan State, and I really don't know what to expect out of Michigan State when they just came from behind to beat Penn State and end any playoff hopes that Penn State had on the road. So they've got that emotional hangover. Everyone's telling them they're hot shit, and they got to face a really, kind of just turning the corner now Michigan team who basically is the best defense in the country, not named Alabama. This line opened at 5 offshore, went up to 8. It's going to settle around a touchdown. I don't know what Zach's going to send out in the card tonight. Caveat emptor on Michigan State. I mean, it's a very attractive thing to take a touchdown dog in a rivalry game, especially one of this magnitude. But, just buyer beware. NC State going to Clemson. This is NC State's real first, I'd say, test of the 2016 season, if you can call visiting the number 2 team in the country a test. Or 2, 3? I guess they're 3. Clemson is. NC State tends to play Clemson really close. This line opened up offshore at 20. It went all the way down. I saw it as low as 15 in the middle of the week, and I think this line can't quite figure out if it's going to go down to 14 and stay there, if it's going to maybe go up to 17. But either way, I think this is going to be a really, really popular dog. Maybe not as popular because people love chalk, and Clemson is like the non-Alabama definition of chalk, really, at this stage. Or will people have a short memory when 2 weeks ago Clemson hosted Syracuse? They were giving something like 23 points, I want to say, and Syracuse led that game in the second half outright, burned a lot of people. I wonder if NC State's going to be an attractive dog, because NC State is actually ranked in the top 20, and they've got the passing attack, and they've got the red zone defense. I think to back it up, Brian Finley is he's stout. He's formidable. Can you hear the church bells in the background, by the way? There are church bells playing when I'm trying to record a video about gambling. Lord Jesus is calling my name. Much of college football is a glorious carousel where one team does well one week and then they suck the next week. Sometimes due to adverse circumstances, but sometimes because just sucking is what we do. As like humans. 2 weeks ago, Florida, LSU. Florida was the trendy pick. They were hosting LSU. LSU's a top 5 team. Florida's lower in the top 25. I believe Florida was favored by 3. LSU goes in. They put up a hell of a fight, but they don't end up winning. They don't end up covering. Either Florida was a 3-point dog or a 3-point favorite. Either way, LSU does not cover. People say, oh, God, man, LSU couldn't pass that test. Now they got to go home. They got to face, top 5 Georgia. So they go home last week. They face top 5 Georgia. They host them, annihilate Georgia. It wasn't even close for people to watch that game. LSU dominated. Fast forward to this week, 22nd ranked Miss State. Again, coming to town, playing LSU. Mississippi State, I think the success here from them comes from whether or not they can run the ball and get push on their line to successfully run the ball, either from the tailback position and or from Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's not having the greatest year. The team's coming off a bye. They're rested. LSU has had 2 really hard-fought, emotional games, one a tight loss, one a huge win. We'll see. Line open off short at 9.5. That was there for about 3 seconds, and then it dropped down to 7. When Zach sends it out tonight, I want to say it'll be around 6.5 or 7.5, somewhere in that range. I think anything over a touchdown, even maybe a touchdown here, provides a lot of value on Mississippi State. And last but not least, the game day game. You see how long it takes me to record these videos? When I start, it's light. When I end, it's dark. The real analysis for Oregon versus Washington State. How many shots of fireball will be consumed in Pullman between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Saturday by white girls wearing their favorite cute fall outfits? Over-under is at least 10,000. I think that's generous. This line is going to be WSU favored either by 3 or 2.5. Normally, in such a heavily bet, high-profile game, I'd love to say that makes a ton of difference if you can get the hook. Take Washington State, no-brainer. However, the breakdown on this game, it's so overshadowed by everything coming to Martin Stadium. You wonder if it really is just as simple as, are you taking the best passing attack statistically in the country? I mean, Minshew is a hell of a thrower, and raw emotion of Martin Stadium and the crowd, or are you taking an Oregon team that can totally show out and stick up with some of the best defenses in the country, or fall flat? I think it really could be as simple as that, because it's a crime to bet this game in some ways. Because if you have any allegiance to the Palouse, which I'm sure about none of you do, so I'm speaking out of turn, this is just going to be fun to see. It's just going to be interesting to see the atmosphere, how many things are set on fire. Pullman Police Blotter, have that link close by you all evening as you sit back with a Tito's and soda and just watch the madness unfold. I just want to see the madness unfold. And if you do have to cap this game, are you picking emotion? Are you picking the passing attack? Do you think that Oregon's corners are going to step up and make plays against Minshew or against some of WSU's wide receivers? Do you think Oregon's rushing attack is going to chew up Washington State's heretofore pretty good defense? Will Herbert pick them apart? Just watch the game and have fun.